Hi, this is Stacy, and this is the second half of this tutorial. I just wanted to come back and show you how we would do the face. I would actually do the face in place, I've decided, and I'm going to show you how I came to that conclusion. I'm going to take this background silhouette and I'm going to move it over. That other method we were doing where we did the silhouette, I would call the move over method. That's just my name so that if you hear me refer to it again at a later date that you'll know what I'm talking about. This is the stay in place. That's what we're going to do with the face. So I'm now going to blow it up and look at the face. And I did clean up some of these dots. There were some dots in here and I got rid of them. So just so you know what I did, there's another one. So we went through this in the past, but you just select it and then you hit the delete button and it's gone. So the idea with this stay in place is that you want to be able to select every single thing you need to join and none of the pieces you don't need to join. So you'll see that there's actually this piece here we don't need to join, but it's going to be okay in this situation to do the join with it, and I'll tell you why. It's because it's going to be the same color ultimately as this, so it doesn't matter if it's joined to it, and there's no other layers to it that you need other than the silhouette layer, which we're discounting. There's not a third layer here that we have to worry about. So I hope that makes sense. If not, you can just use the move over method for every single one because that will always work. You could have the silhouette on here and move those 7 pieces over the same way. And what we're going to do is I'm going to show you that instead of doing edit, you can right click and you can do shape magic and you can do join. So there you have it now, and all those holes are cut out of the face, and you've gone from 7 pieces for this face, this part of the face, to 1 piece. And I did want to let you know that overall, I'm not sure if I mentioned this before or not, but for this total image, you've gone from 16 pieces in 3 layers to 9 pieces in 2 layers by using this method. And that is a savings of almost half of your pieces. So it's a pretty big deal. Now, I've had a lot of questions about how I make the images that are like this, but instead of being in this format, they're in their separated layers by color, separate by color. And I've actually just shown you pretty much everything you need to do it, but I'm going to go over it very quickly so you see it all done together. And I thought this was a good image to do it with because it's a fairly small and fairly simple image. Now, the first thing you're going to do, and this I have to do all the time because I work with my images very big, is you're going to have to size your image down. So the way you do that is you magic select around it, and then I always move it to the top left corner, and then I go into edit, shape magic, and I scale. And what scaling is it's going to allow me to make everything here bigger or smaller in the same amount, in the same perspective. I hope that makes sense. So I can just, it's sort of like you could just make the background and everything in the same proportion, bigger or smaller. You can do it by defining a set inch for this, or the way I usually do it is percentage. And as long as you have your lock aspect ratio on, it will lock, it will scale everything just by moving the 1. So if I make this 50%, say, it's going to make the other 50%, and it's going to be small enough now that you can put it. And this is a very, very useful tool, the scale. I'm very happy about it. It's great for when you're going to cut your things as well. Now, since this is only 2 colors, it's going to be pretty easy, but the concept is the same. Now that I have it small enough, I can take this and I can see that at 6 inches I'd be okay. So I'm going to change the 0 plus 6 is 6, and there it is. And this one is ready to cut. Now, if you have more layers, you might need to go in different directions with this. There is the possibility of just dragging it, which is fine. I don't usually do that because when there's a lot of little pieces, I like to see how they all play against each other and how they all look close to each other. On an image like this, to cut it, I might do a little bit of this, also just in general, a little bit of separating so my pieces aren't also on top of each other. And I just wanted to show you one more thing. If you have multiple colors, you're going to move them in all different areas and directions. To move it down the way I just did, you would use the Y. The Y moves it down, the X moves it left to right. So I hope that clears this up. The other thing then, and let me go to a different mat so you can see it. Let's go to the traditional Cricut mat, is how do I set this up to cut on my machine? The way you do this is you can literally take your Cricut mat and see I use this arrow as my guide. And I would lay my Cricut mat in front of me just the way it is on here. And then you can measure. So for here, you could use maybe like a 4.5 by 4 square of red, place it right here on the mat, and I would do the in line with this top corner. And then I would do the same thing here with a black piece. I would take the same size, that I forgot what I said already, 4.5 by 4, and I would place it starting at the 6 here, because that says 6. Let me blow that up so you can see it. See how that says 6 at the starting point? And then once I had those two pieces of paper on there, I could load this into my Cricut and it'll cut all of it at the same time. So I hope that makes sense and it clears up any of the confusion in that area. Now, if I am doing it in its original big size, some of the big sizes, the way I can get around some of the moving and all that is in visualization. I can make this visible and set visible to no. And now see how it gets that. I'm not even sure when it gets around it. Let's take a look. That red with the no sign in the middle, that means that this is not, even though we can see it, it's not actually visible on the mat, the machine. So if you were to cut right now with it, you would only get this red part up here. You would not get the black silhouette cut out. So I hope that clears up some of those cutting questions that you had. If you have any more, let me know. I'm considering doing a paper piecing video, but I don't actually have software for that right now. I don't have anything that would make that easy. So I would want to know that it was going to be something that a lot of people were interested in before I did it. So thank you very much for staying with me. That is the end of this tutorial. Hope to see you on my website.